Hello, hello. How is everybody tonight? So happy to be here with you again for this live where we are going to dig into exercise. Just have to make sure that I'm actually live. It's always good to actually be live when you think you're live. Wanting to make sure. Let's see. Oh, there we go. All right. Facebook was not cooperating there with me for a second. So, welcome in everyone as everybody's kind of making their way into the live. Thank you so much for giving me some of your valuable time tonight. I do appreciate your willingness to spend a little time with me and talk about exercise. I love talking about moving our bodies more because I think that especially after we hit 40 and 50 and 60 and beyond, we kind of, I don't know, I feel like people are kind of hesitant sometimes to do the exercise because they're afraid of injury or, overuse of muscles and that kind of thing. And really, when it comes down to it, the more we can be consistent with exercise, the better for a lot of reasons. So we'll get into all of that. So let's go ahead and jump in and get started. I always want to be respectful of your guys' time because I know that everyone has busy things, especially in the evening around dinner time, depending on where you're tuning in from. So, welcome to How to Never Skip a Workout Again or Exercise That Doesn't Suck. Either way, it's a good thing, right? We want to talk about exercise and how we can make it fun and enjoyable and actually something that we want to do and we get to do as opposed to something we have to do. Definitely a difference between the two, right? So if you are here live with me, hashtag live, would love to see where you're joining in from. If you are catching me on a replay or a recording, hashtag replay. Love to figure out where everybody's joining from. We have people from across the country and actually even from outside of the United States. So I love to see where everybody's joining from. So I get a lot of people that, talk about exercise and maybe have sort of a love-hate relationship with exercise, and really, focused in on, I don't want to, what do I had one person tell me the other day that they're not good at it, so they just don't do it. So lots of different kind of, philosophies and thoughts about exercise. I'm hoping to break through some of those tonight as we go through this information. Definitely want to see you guys be more physically active. And when I say physically active, I want you not to cringe. I want you to actually feel like it's something you can do and something that you would enjoy doing. So yeah, would love to kind of break through that a little bit for you this evening. So let's see here. Let me go to this slide. So who am I talking to this evening? Well, first of all, welcome. You are most likely, if you're in my space, you are over 40 and you are a woman in perimenopause, menopause, or postmenopause. I do get that question a lot. Like, is this program, is your education and your kind of trainings, are they for people in any stage of menopause? And absolutely, sometimes we have to talk a little bit differently about hormone levels or maybe risk of different things. But yeah, I'm absolutely talking to everyone in that menopausal state. And whether or not you realize it, once you're in perimenopause or premenopause, you're menopausal for life, ladies. So the story changes a little bit as we get a little older and our bodies change. But really, the conversation is all around the four pillars that I always talk about: nutrition, exercise, sleep, and stress. So exercise is one of the kind of pillars of the information that I share with women because I think that there is so much information out there that I like to break these things down into very usable, very understandable, very realistic things that people can put into play right away. So if you are here joining me, you will benefit from this training if you are simply a woman over 40. So if you are younger than 40 and you are in premenopause or you are going through menopause early, there is still something for you here, I promise. If you are struggling with weight gain, struggling with belly fat, struggling with, I don't like exercise, I don't have time to exercise, if you're tired, if you're new to menopause, if you've been menopausal for a while, we got a little something for each of those different stages. So, when we take a look at this information, whenever I'm talking to a woman in any stage of menopause, I'm always figuring out what is your story, where are you at? Because it really only matters that you're getting the results that you're looking for, right? So if I'm talking about running and you are not a runner, that's not going to do you any good, right? So I'm going to talk about kind of general topics when it comes to exercise. If you are interested in digging a little bit deeper, wanting to, get on a call with me and kind of break down what it would look like to develop a plan specific to your exercise needs, and maybe if you've got some restrictions on what you can do and that kind of thing, we can break some of that down as well. And we can certainly get through the I don't like it aspect of it for sure. So I want to talk about how we can incorporate exercise without feeling overwhelmed, because none of us need to be more overwhelmed. We are all overwhelmed with several things already. So we don't want to spend more time at the gym, feel like we can't get anything done unless we spend hours and hours of time and lots of money. So we want to make this as simple and easy and doable as we can, because as I tell people often, pretty much daily, if it can incorporate into your day-to-day life, you're probably not going to stick with it. I was just having a conversation with someone today, and we were talking about changing up their nutrition. Actually, we weren't at that moment talking about exercise, but I find that these concepts are kind of fluid over, any of the four pillars. And so we were talking about, if you're going to make a change and it's only going to be for the next 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever, what's the point of that, right? We want lifelong sustainable change that's going to get us the results that we're looking for, because our health is an ongoing story. We are constantly writing the story of our own health and wellness and how we're showing up for ourselves. So I'll get into a lot more of that, as we're moving forward here, but keep that in mind, that we're really writing our own story when it comes to our health and wellness. And so what kind of story do we want to write? Do we want to be the person who's sitting on the couch watching other people do things? Do we want to be the kind of people that go on vacation with our families and we are held back? We're sitting back at, the cabin or the Airbnb or wherever we're at, because we don't have the ability or the energy to be able to go out and do the physical things that other people are doing? Or do we want to be out there enjoying the fresh air, enjoying hiking or biking or swimming or whatever, physical activity there is, to be able to enjoy our loved ones, to be able to enjoy just each and every day, right? So I encourage you to think about that as we're going through this. This is way beyond simply changing what the number on the scale says. I understand that that is a big driver for people when it comes to exercise, but if that's the only thing that drives us forward, then we're going to be really hard pressed to be motivated to exercise on a consistent daily basis. So we really want to, as we're going through this information, I want you to think about some of the other reasons behind why you want to start exercising more or exercising more consistently. Hi, Karen. Thanks so much for jumping on. So let's see here. So if you stick around until the end, I do have my Menopause Motion Magnifier. Isn't that a fun name? And it's really a guide to help give you some exercises to start focusing on losing the weight, shredding the belly fat, achieving what your body is, what you're looking to achieve with your body from that standpoint. There's also, the exercises are going to give you those strategies to help increase that energy, to really help you achieve that self-confidence that you're looking for, to achieve the ability to go out and do the things that you want to do. Because at the end of the day, ladies, that's why we're here, right? We want to be able to engage in life and not sit on the sidelines and just kind of watch everything go by. So for those of you that are new to my world, there's a lot of people that are joining the Facebook group, a lot of people that are new to Jennifer Gilliland Nutrition. I am in fact Jennifer Gilliland. I am 50. Oh, I have to change that. I'm actually 53. I just turned 53. So that needs to be updated. I have been very successful with my own menopause kind of breakthrough journey and been able to lose 50 pounds and keep that off. And I say that because instead of feeling like, oh my gosh, why can't I be like that person or that person or that person? I want you to hold on to the fact that other people have done it before you. And I am here to help you do it too. If I can do it, you can do it. Right. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart, because battling through any kind of health journey is just that. It's a battle, right? There's ups, there's downs, there's challenges. There's days when we feel great. There's days when we feel motivated. And then there's days when we're just like, I don't even know. I don't even know what to think, on these certain days. When we look at our putting everything together, we have to be able to look at both that emotional side of I don't want to do it, as well as the physical side of what can my body do right now. I talk about it as though, we're thinking about crawling before we're running. If you think about any child you've ever had interactions with, and even ourselves when we were little, we had to learn to crawl before we could learn to run, right? So when we're talking about exercise, we're very much focused on how do I get everything sort of in front of my face, kind of top of mind when it comes to exercise so that I can move forward with it and be very successful and be very consistent. So I know you guys have seen, some of the ads that talk about lose weight and do this, or, 10 quick things that you can do to lose weight in a week, or, whatever kind of marketing is out there, right? When we talk about supplements and shakes and even the weight loss medications and things like that, none of that is long-term change without these basics of changing up what you're doing nutritionally, changing up what you're doing as far as the exercise. And being perimenopausal myself, I get it, right? I get the mood swings. I get the fatigue. I get the, I don't want to do it. I get the, changes in our bodies that we're like, wait, I went to sleep and woke up and this is not happening, right? This is not how I went to sleep. So I'm not even sure what's going on right now. So really being mindful of our bodies are different, but that's okay. That's part of the journey, right? That's part of our aging process of us getting wiser and not having to feel like we, kind of feel like we did maybe in our 20s. Maybe we were a little bit more insecure. Maybe we were a little less confident. And so now is a great time to sort of reinvent where we're at. What do we want the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years to look like? And we are in charge of that. So how do we show up for ourselves? And exercise is definitely one of the ways that we can show up for ourselves. I hear a lot of women talk about, there's lots of information out there. I don't even know what to do. There's so many different contradictory opinions about what kind of exercise do I do? Do I do cardio? Do I do strength? Do I do yoga? Do I do Pilates? Like, what is going to be the best for me? And we'll talk a little bit about that as well. There's lots of diets available. There's lots of programs. There's lots of plans available. What I always stand firm on, and I will always continue to say, is that you are smart and capable, and nobody knows your body better than you. So I am not here to tell you you have to do this or you have to do that. I am here to guide you along that journey, right? I am not a runner. If somebody told me like the only way that you're going to be able to stay healthy in menopause is if you run, I'd be like, I'm out. I'm done, because that is, first of all, I know that's not true. Second of all, if there's only one answer for even the 1,800 people that I have in my Facebook group, if there's only one answer for 1,800 people, like, I'm sorry, ladies, I call BS on that. There's no way that there's only one way, right? Same thing when it comes to exercise. So when we think about what are we doing, how are we showing up for ourselves in a movement type of a way, what does that look like for you? What do you want to do? And it's interesting because the more that I talk with women that are in menopause, the more that one of my initial questions is, what do you think needs to change? We all sort of have that knowing and that thing that we're like almost afraid to say, right? I've got people that will say, I really want to run a marathon, or I really want to, hike in some mountain somewhere. I really want to be able to go on a 20-mile walk, whatever kind of their thing is that they feel like is out of their reach. Once they can start to verbalize that and kind of put that out there into the world, into the universe, then it's a much easier conversation, right? If that's the destination, what do we need to do to get there? So that accountability, that motivation, those are two things that women are constantly struggling with, because life can be challenging, right? So the same thing with exercise. So I really encourage you, as you're thinking about changing up what you're doing physically, that you're thinking about the information, the information, or I can teach you the information. It's the implementation that I also can help you with, right? Because it's the implementation. How many of you, drop a 5 in the chat if this is you've learned something at some point and then not not put any implementation into it. You haven't followed through. I know I would put a 5 in the chat. There are plenty of things that I read about, that I see, that I hear, that I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. And then I get distracted with something else, right? Or, oh, I'm going to try that. Maybe I'll do that next week. And then that never happens, right? So we've all done that. And it's hard to admit that to ourselves, that we are that person, right? But there's nothing wrong with that. We are bombarded with information. So it makes sense that we would gather some things and then not be able to actually do something with that. What we want to do is become aware of that. We want to be much more mindful of, am I just spending my time gathering information, pulling this, this pamphlet from here, watching this podcast, looking at this website, or am I actually taking that information and putting it into action? And that's what we do in my Menopause Breakthrough Method, my group program, is to put those things into action, because it's nice to have the book on the shelf, but it's not going to do anything unless we open it up and we actually do those steps. So that's really, really key to actually getting results with your exercise, is putting that into action. So one thing I want to encourage you to think about when you're thinking about physical activity, and you're thinking, I don't have time for it, I don't have the energy for it, I don't know, I don't really want to do it, those kinds of things. I want you to think about how you prioritize things in your life. How do you spend time in your day-to-day? And how do you kind of budget? Now, when we think about budget, we most of the time think about finances, right? We budget for things like food and paying our rent and gas in the car and those kinds of things. That's a financial budget. We need to also think about a financial budget when it comes to our health, whether that's through joining a gym, hiring a personal trainer, hiring a coach of some sort, getting some help with your nutrition, whatever that might look like. We have to think about, how do we budget our finances in order to get all of those things done, right? And then we also have to think about, how do we budget our time? And budgeting our time is really more about prioritizing our time. If we really want to get something done, we figure out how to budget that time for it, right? So if you make exercise a priority, you will always find time for it, no matter what else is going on. Now, that is not to say, because I am positive there is somebody on the other side of the screen that's saying, you don't understand my life, you don't understand my schedule. I promise you, I do. And here's why. Everybody will be busy. If we wait until the perfect time to start the next thing, you will always have something that gets in the way. In a few weeks, I'm going to be talking about like holidays a little bit more. I'm going to start talking about that because it's October. And you know what happens at this time of the year? We get into Halloween, we get into Thanksgiving, we get into Christmas, we get into New Year's, we get into all the other holidays that are at this time of the year. And then we continue to say, I'll do that next month. I'll do that after the holidays. I'll do that later. It is October 18th, and we are going to wait until January 2nd to make changes. Again, please don't do that. Please don't be that person that is continuing to show up in that way and then not getting the results that you're looking for because you kind of waited 3 months, right? Same thing with exercise. So we want to think about budgeting our money and budgeting our time. And how are we spending that time in order to get the results that we're looking for? The people that are in my Menopause Breakthrough Method, 35 plus pounds down, getting more energy, getting that exercise, taken care of, wearing clothes that they haven't worn for 20 years, getting those blood sugars under control. It is possible, ladies. If I was sitting here and just telling you this information and I wasn't seeing it firsthand in my clients, I would not be sharing this information with you. So hopefully that rings true and you see that it is possible in your own space, because I know that it's possible with other women, and they are menopausal. Some of them postmenopausal. So it is never too late to make those changes. So you don't need a perfect plan when it comes to exercise in order to get started. Again, I go back to that crawl and then walk. When we are starting an exercise plan, the only thing that matters is that we start. So I challenge you right here, right now, to do something physical before you go to bed tonight. I don't care what time it is where you are. I don't care where you're at. I don't care if it's cold outside. I don't care if it's raining. 5 minutes of something. You can march in place. You can walk up and down stairs. You can do arm raises above your head. Some sort of physical activity. There is something that you can do if you prioritize that time. So there's no greater time than starting today. And I would encourage you to do that 5 minutes this evening before you go to bed. Post in the Facebook group about it for me, because I would love to see kind of what everybody's been doing and how you kind of, put that into action. So how does making the decision to start exercising and then going ahead and getting started, how does that change things? Well, so for one person in particular, one of my awesome challenge accepted, I love it. One of my clients was really struggling. She was definitely an exerciser, but she was really struggling with actually getting the exercise done. And so she would get up in the morning, she'd put her exercise clothes on, and then she'd check her email, she'd check her phone, she'd take the dog outside, let the dog out, she'd get breakfast for the kids, she'd do all kinds of things, right? And then it was like, oh, I got to get ready. I got to go get ready for work. So then she would not do the exercise, and then she'd get home from work and it was cold and tired and all those things, and she'd go to bed and she wouldn't do any of the exercise. Karen did 10 squats 4 different times today. Oh, I love that, Karen. That is amazing, amazing, amazing. And I love that you broke that down and did 10, 4 different sets. That's awesome. So when Alex decided that she wanted to do more exercise, what's the simple thing that she did? This is so simple. We talked about it. She was no longer allowed, when she put her exercise clothes on, she put her stake in the ground, and that was her way of saying, I'm going to exercise this morning before I do anything else. So she'd get her exercise clothes on. She made a statement to herself, and then she'd exercise. There was no email. There was no getting breakfast. There was no letting the dog out. She was exercise. That's what she did. And she has been so successful with that. She's back to running how she wanted to be. She wants to run. So she's back to running, which is very social for her. And she's able to spend time with friends. She feels better. She's sleeping better. Her energy went from like 10% to 90%. She's not falling asleep in her car anymore. When she gets home from work, can't even get in the house because she was so tired. All of those things. Losing inches, wearing the clothes that she wants to be wearing, confidence increasing, all of those things that we all are looking for, she found because she stopped putting her exercise clothes on and then finding other things to do. So it is possible, definitely possible. So what are 3 things that you can do right now, aside from the challenge that we talked about? What are 3 things that you can do? So my first kind of tip for that is have a plan and schedule it into your day. I work out in the morning at, between 5 and 6 in the morning, depending on the day. And I do about anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes, depending on what kind of exercise I'm doing and what I want to be focused on for that day. It usually probably averages out to about 45 minutes. So that's me. Morning, if I don't exercise in the morning, I'm most likely not going to do it the rest of the day. And I do that 6 days a week. So it's a part of my morning routine. It's part of what I do. I've done it for, my youngest son is 19. I've done it for a little less than, actually it's about 19 years now. And I still, ladies, true confession, I still have days where I have to convince myself to exercise, but I have the same plan that Alex has. My exercise clothes go on, I do exercise. There is no negotiation. It's just what we do, right? So I would encourage you to do that. When is your best time to exercise? And try not to force yourself at that point. The whole point is, when does it naturally feel like it's best? Are you like Karen, that you like to spread it out through the day? That's awesome. Are you, can you exercise at lunchtime? Is it better in the morning? Is it better at night? When is your best time to be able to get that exercise in, so that you're not feeling like you're putting what do they say, a round square peg in a round hole? You're really trying to incorporate that exercise at a time that makes sense for you. The second thing is deciding what type of exercise you enjoy. As I said, I am not a runner, but I love to walk. I love to ride bikes. I love to hike. I love to do like exercise videos and things like that. So I have plenty of opportunity for doing those things, but depends on the day, right? Depends on the season and the day and that type of a thing. So deciding what type of exercise you like to do, because if you like to do it, then you're more likely to do that as well. You're more likely to prioritize it. Whereas, again, I don't mean to say anything against runners, but if somebody told me that I had to run, I would not be happy every single day. I wouldn't be happy because I don't want to run. Jane says, I'm like you, Jennifer. I don't exercise. If I don't exercise in the morning, it doesn't get done. Yes, absolutely. And so, Jane, you're pretty consistent. I know I've seen your posts about walking, and seeing all the beautiful scenery and that kind of thing, and that quiet of the morning. I know you enjoy that as well. So there's a lot to be said about that morning exercise. But you need, finding kind of what works best for you. I know some people that will exercise at 11 o'clock at night because that's the only time that they can fit it in, and that's fine as well. Making exercise a priority, making sure that it's a non-negotiable in your day-to-day, right? Maybe that's 6 days a week, maybe it's 7 days a week, maybe it's 3 days a week, whatever works for you. I would encourage you, crawl before you run. If you are not consistently exercising now, please don't try and exercise 6, 7 days a week. Please try and do, 1 or 2 days a week and then build from there. I know one person she started walking from her house to literally the house next door, one door to the next door. And then, as she was feeling more comfortable, she'd go to the next house and the next house. And she basically was trying to go around the block and ended up being able to walk, lost, I think, like 80 pounds, was able to walk for an hour at a time. But she started with literally a 30-second walk. She was crawling before she ran. Okay. So we really want to make sure that we are being realistic in our expectations of that. So why is exercise so important in our menopause makeover? So I am a firm believer in there are some natural things that happen during menopause. Estrogen levels are dropping, our cortisol levels are sort of jacked up. We have our metabolism is changing because we are older. That doesn't mean that it's non-existent, but sometimes, based on our history of what we've done as far as different meal plans that we've followed, or if we've dieted a long time, or kind of, we can kind of, mess up our metabolism a little bit. So we want to be really mindful of what's happened in the past and how are we where we're at now. That is not to say that we need to feel guilty or shameful or anything like that. I'm never here to guilt and shame you about choices that have been made. We do the best with the information that we've got. Now that we know better, we do better, right? And so that's what we want to be doing when we're talking about that menopause makeover. One of the things that we can do better with is to exercise. So if you are a person who doesn't have the time, the money, or the effort, or the energy to exercise, that's what's great about being in a community where you can find the energy from other people as you're sort of getting started. So exercise is definitely one of the 9 steps in my menopause roadmap, simply because it is so important, right? It is so very important to get our bodies moving. Our bodies are designed to be active through the day. So we can adjust the plan, we can make things different, we can do different activities depending on what's going on, but we don't want to just simply sit. We have enough opportunity to sit and be sedentary. We don't want to add to that opportunity. If you want to do things like avoiding prescription medication, having more energy to play with grandkids, living life on your own terms, what makes you you? What makes you want to exercise? Because that's what's going to get you up in the morning, putting the exercise clothes on. So when I say you have to exercise, if you put your exercise clothes on, what that means is don't not put your exercise clothes on, right? Because if we're doing that, we're defeating the purpose, right? The only person that suffers is ourselves. So what makes you you? What makes you excited about exercise? What makes you want to do that? And if you don't know why, then we want to make sure that we're spending some time thinking about that. And maybe that's something that you and I can have a conversation about to figure out what is the reason behind wanting to make some of these changes. So as I said, it is definitely something that I incorporate into my day-to-day because I don't really think that it's fair to ask you guys to do something that I'm not willing to do. So that happens a lot of times, right? I am following my own menopause breakthrough method. I am exercising. I'm doing the things that are important that I find very valuable in the information that I share with you guys, because if I'm not willing to do it, how can I ask you to do it? So a little bit of a potential punch in the gut right now, just because I really think that it is important. I am all about challenging people that I work with, the clients that come to me. You guys aren't here to just get a pat on the back and say you're doing a great job. If you were getting the results that you wanted to get, you would have no reason to be in my Facebook group, and you'd have no reason to spend half an hour listening to me go on and on about exercise on a Wednesday night. You have way other things that you could do, right? So you're here because you're looking for change. You're here because you want different results with your health and your well-being. So I am here. I wouldn't be a good coach if I wasn't challenging you. And so with your permission, I want to kind of give you something to think about, right? Two different things. So the one client that I talked with a few weeks ago was talking about, I'm not good at exercise, so I just don't do it. So she was looking for perfection. She was very much looking for, how do I show up perfectly in order to actually get something done? I would encourage you, just show up, right? Take the word perfection out of it and just simply show up. The other thing that the kind of the ouch factor is more, are you not showing up because you don't trust yourself to follow through? Is that the reason that you won't start exercising, because you're not sure that you're actually going to follow through with it this time? And if that's what's keeping you stuck, we definitely need to have a conversation. There are lots and lots of women in your same space that are in my Menopause Breakthrough Method group. And that's the whole point of that group, is to help get each other unstuck. But if you are sitting there thinking, I have done everything I know how to do, I have followed every plan I know how to follow, and I still can't get the results that I'm looking for, then you're not looking in the right places. And I would say that there's more going on for you emotionally that you aren't owning up to, that you aren't even aware of. Because I know for myself, a lot of times I don't see what other people see. I'll ask my husband, my sister, my best friend about what's going on, and they can see it way before I can. And I'm fairly certain that you guys have had that experience too. So if you are saying, I've done everything I can, I'm just done, I am the only menopausal woman in the United States, in the world, who is not going to get any results, I don't believe it. And that's the ouch factor, right? That's the gut punch. If you are like, no, I'm getting results and this is great, then awesome. Let's congratulate you. Let's, let me hear what your successes are, because other people can learn from that too. If you are the opposite and you're sitting there wondering, how do I get the results? How do I actually get this done? I want you to reach out to me, message me, text me, call me, something, so that we can get on a phone call so we can talk about it, because there are lots of different things that we can do. So the truth is that nothing's going to happen if you don't make a commitment, right? If you don't commit to yourself, if you don't prioritize yourself. So I'm going to leave you with a couple of different thoughts as we wrap this up. If you are the kind of person who pushes things off, who kind of waits and procrastinates for anything in life, you perhaps are the kind of person that shows up the same way with your nutrition and your wellness. So if exercise is one of those things that you're like, yeah, I'll do that, maybe when the weather warms up, or maybe when I retire, or maybe when I have more time, then I'll start. You're never going to start. So I really want you to think about, start something today. Again, challenge given. 5 minutes tonight before you go to bed, wherever you are, 5 minutes. You can all do it. So I really hope that this was helpful. I hope that it gave you some things to think about, maybe a reframe of how you've been approaching exercise and how you've been looking at physical activity. It's something we get to do, ladies. It really is. And so we want to start approaching it in that way so that we can get the results that we're looking for. So if you stuck with me through this live and you want the Menopause Movement Magnifier, I think you'll really like it. It's very comprehensive, lots of good information in there, and kind of gives you some different things to try, to some different exercises that maybe you haven't thought about or haven't incorporated before. So drop the word move in the chat and let me know, and I would be happy to share that with you. Again, thanks so much, ladies, for your time and attention. Thanks for joining me this evening. I look forward to talking with you and getting to know your journey in a much deeper way. I am here to help. I'm here to guide. My goal is to serve as many women as I can in order to help you get the results you're looking for. So have a wonderful night, and I will catch y'all later.